Been called worse, Deborah.
Actually, I almost had that meat salad. I thought, hey, that sounds really good.
I like beets.
Yeah, and then with the red ones and the gold ones, both.
I like beets. My favorite vegetable is Brussels sprouts.
I don't contaminate anybody, I'll sit over here. If we sit this far apart, I don't think you have to worry about eating. If we sit this far apart, we won't have to worry about getting together for this.
Your name tag's back there.
I guess at 6 feet is fine.
Wouldn't sit back there, right?
Oh, Thomas.
DW. Oh Lord, it comes next.
Well, if
to
you're
me.
ever in Burlington, try the restaurant. It's lots of fun.
What's it called?
The Spot. It used to be a gas station.
Nice.
And it's real it's real busy and people your age love it. Did you see the little thing?
No.
He's a beet salad.
Oh, you told me.
Yeah, living the dream. I thought, oh, Michael Cashman's here. I can't stand. There was a beet salad called Living the Dream. The Dream. I thought, oh, well, that's a Michael Cashman salad.
That's pretty cool. Let's see, that, couple extras, right?
Where'd you go today, Mr. Chuck?
Oh, we're gonna.
Ogdensburg and Campton.
Oh, joy of rapture. I wasn't sure you'd have this meeting tonight, with the big crowds and stuff.
Yes, I know.
Yeah.
Thank you, Deb, for
Yeah,
thinking about that.
yeah.
All right, we're gonna call the meeting to order at 6 o'clock.
That's what Tom's with,
I'm here, Tom's here, Meg, Barb. Anything for public comment this evening? I have a couple things that I want to go over and give people an update on some stuff. There's lots and lots of information out there on COVID-19, lots of opinions and feelings on it. There's some facts out there that the World Health Organization has declared it as a pandemic. There's lots of people that have an opinion of whether or not this should be something that we should be focused on or not. Whether we like it or not, there are a lot of action items that are occurring. So I want to introduce some of the situations and facts that are out there, also the response that we as a town are beginning to take, and just get you folks caught up to speed. It's been an interesting last couple of days, and I just want to give you a report on that. First and foremost, to date, there have been approximately 4 cases that have been identified. They have been negative, which is a good thing. We have, since I put out a memo to our employees several plus days ago, we have been using the double cleaning protocol, which means that we've been doing double rounds with our cleaning crew here, but we have also sent a directive to all the employees to wash down keyboards, doorknobs, multiple surfaces on a regular basis. We are now getting into a situation though where some of the cleaning supplies that we have traditionally used are not as readily available. So we are going to begin to do some of those. I'm just splitting the difference on the percentages, but like a 50-50 mix, the appropriate Clorox, bleach, so on and so forth. So we'll be doing some in-house materials to address some of that stuff. We have also put in a request through New York State, which is now making some hand sanitizer, etc., hoping to get some of those resources locally, but those are being dispatched to the hot zones first as they've been declared. I've also reminded our employees that we have contracted with the EAS services, and I remind people that in times like this, a well of stress can bubble to the top for a number of reasons. You could have a parent or a loved one that's in a senior facility that you're worried about, so you yourself are internalizing a particular amount of stress. And we remind people that they do not need to have a face-to-face conversation to receive EAS services. They can simply call. So we've reminded them about that. We have also begun, just so you folks know, creating a priority essential list for our employees. It's being broken down into several categories: a high, a mid, a low, and a non-essential. Two of our departments in particular will almost always fall within the category of high priority. The water department, as you can imagine, we're running a water system for the health and safety of our community, so they're going to fall within a high category, or at least somewhere on that spectrum. The highway department, again, for a number of reasons, we're in the winter business. So, been working with department heads. We did a debriefing this morning. They know that that will be further communicated to them. We are evaluating a number of work-related and activities. Senior programming has been canceled. The Senior Fitness for Life, for example. We are also going to be informing people that are renting our facilities that we are putting a freeze on that space. And that's for a number of reasons. One is for them to use the space itself. You know, there could be a high density of individuals in the space, but it's one less contact opportunity for our folks that are cleaning the space as well. So it's kind of a double situation.
So nobody uses the building, is that what you're saying?
I'll use May Courier as an example.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do is we are going to inform individuals that have signed up to use that space will not be available to them. I'm working with Mel to identify an activity date. It will not be tomorrow. We need a little time to turn around and be able to make phone calls. So it will be in the next couple of days, but then we'll put out a prolonged period of time. It's not a perfect situation, but we.
So none of our buildings in the parks will be open, is that the case?
We're probably not. We're getting our arms wrapped around some of that activity, but very likely that it will be limited at best, and really trying to tighten up some of that area. One of the spaces that, in my opinion, is easily identified as a high-traffic public area is the court. 2 days a week, at the very least, we are seeing a significant high-traffic amount of people, and it's not just from our home community. Someone comes through here, they get a speeding ticket, whatever it is. So I've already had a conversation with Justice Mannix and Justice Joyce about that topic, and we will continue to find ways to triage it in an appropriate manner. Going back to staffing overall, we will adopt a means to support our employees, and this is the moving target, folks, because some of our employees have kids. We don't know what all the school districts are doing yet. Some of the employees do not have the ability to, say, remotely work, so we have to be equitable and find a method that really works and can be sustained. So what we may do is some type of workforce reduction that looks like summer hours, okay? Or have part of our team come in a little bit earlier in the morning, leave a little bit earlier in the day, maybe do a Monday through Thursday, a Tuesday through Friday. The model is still being developed, but it will be implemented as soon as possible. And the one thing that I'm very, very proud of is that this team here is keeping their calm. They understand that there's a lot of hype, but also be mindful that you have to take it serious, because it's not just about the individuals, okay, us, is the fact that it could be transmitted to a person that we love and care for. So you have to be mindful of that. So those are some of the big items and activities that we're working on. I have been in regular contact with our county's health department, with state and local representatives. I am now part of a daily North Country contravirus update call. Yesterday, as many people have probably seen in today's newspaper or heard about, SUNY Plattsburgh is going to an online teaching model for some of their courses. Clinton Community College is adopting some models as well. There are a number of public events that have been delayed or canceled, including athletic events, to the Irishman or Woman of the Year from the North Country Chamber of Commerce. I mean, so it's not just the public sector that is evaluating this and taking it serious, the business community. The more recent significant directive that has been put out by the state is gatherings or assemblies of 500 or more will not be allowed. And then they're using a model of doing basically a 50% reduction of smaller assemblies. We're still trying to learn some more on that, but one example they used is, imagine an assembly that traditionally would have been 400, you're basically looking at the assembly should be no more than 200, okay? How that plays out, how they're going to dictate it, how they're going to communicate it, this is all happening fast and furious. I just got late today and have not had a chance to really examine it fully, as the Association of Towns has worked in concert with the Mayor's Association and also the County Association, trying to provide some more materials as well. We have taken an active approach by putting out some materials, like some posters and stuff like that. But the one thing that we're trying to be careful of is not being seen as the clearinghouse for all information, because we are not the health department, okay? And we're trying to share information with our constituent base. We're trying to get information into people's hands, but because information is changing so quickly, is we don't want to necessarily put out certain types of information, have that change, and people go, well, yeah, but you just said this, and have a delayed sense of reality or information, okay? Any questions? The other thing that I'll put out there is we had a really good conversation about the budget impact, and it will very likely have a significant budget impact. Not just for us, in the town, across the board. We're seeing the stock market do all kinds of dips and dives and everything in between. We are going to continue to take, as we have, a conservative approach to budgeting items. Things that may have traditionally been on the docket for budgeted expenses will be held off for a while. And that is to make sure that things kind of level out. That's not to say that we are not going to do the business of the town. We still have to run a town, we still have to buy things, we still have to provide services. So there is
basically the sales tax probably go down.
Yeah, and one of the biggest things that people often don't associate with the sales tax is gas, and gas prices were already going down.
Exactly.
So
That's going down, plus you're gonna have less spending in the hotels and stuff.
Sure, and I think any one of us could probably generate easily a list of 10 or 12 items of how that will impact. SUNY Plattsburgh is a really quick example of how it will impact things. If a lot of the students leave the local community, their spending at various locations will have an impact. The secondary impact is they're very likely not to have commencement.
Mm-hmm.
Well, commencement is usually a minimum of a 2-day stay at the hotels. That occupancy tax, it just.
Well, also they're not allowing any spectators at any of the athletic events, which people
Absolutely.
come from all over to go to
Yep.
those.
And workforce, our students are certainly gainfully employed in our
Yeah.
community. And,
Yeah, yeah.
So I think it's a great time to travel then. The gas will be low, you'll find a place and.
So I just want to let you know that we will be implementing things as quickly as possible. We will be proactive, but we may need to, I dare not say sit on the sidelines, but to take to pause in moments to make sure that we're receiving the correct directives or advice from various entities, agencies, etc. So.
Michael, will we freeze the opportunity, obviously, for employees that might want to be attending a conference? Is that going to be case by case?
We're gonna do some case by case, and I can give you a good example. A great question, Barb, is our water operators were about to go to a conference, right?
Yeah.
There may be certain training activities and needs that we need to have.
That's right.
If there's a suspension in the conference, well, that by itself will kind of dictate. But we are really needing to evaluate a lot of stuff, a lot of day-to-day stuff that typically is more routine
Mhm.
in nature.
Would that affect licenses for codes and so on?
Most of our folks should be up to date
Yeah.
where they need to be. But again, things may pop up. One of the, and I'm really careful because I don't wanna present doomsday scenarios, because we can all think of horrible, horrible situations and almost kinda go down that rabbit hole. I'm not looking to do that. The reality of it is, the coronavirus is very likely already in our community, be it most likely untested. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. We need to be proactive in our approach to things. And, you can almost get to a situation where you're constantly thinking about the scenario that you need to address, and you're not addressing the more probable scenarios that are in front of you. It goes back to some really simple things. Wash your hands, cover your mouth. I mean, so there is, and I've had some conversations with some other folks, whether you believe that it's a higher alert or a lower alert, we have a moral and ethical responsibility to be a participant in protecting the public.
Yep.
We have a moral and ethical responsibility to our employees, okay? And one of the things that I really appreciated after having the department debriefing this morning is a number of employees came up to me afterwards, both the department heads and those that relayed the information to their individual teams, is that thanks for thinking of our best interest. And they obviously have colleagues in local government and other areas, and also the private sector, and said some of this information isn't being relayed to us, and we don't know where to find good information. And a lot of times it's been, here, go to the CDC, this is the link, here's the, and yeah, everybody should have a personal responsibility to seek out some of that information, but we also have a responsibility to be a participant, and that's what we're doing, okay? So, I won't labor on about it, but, more information, and please.
Every week, probably.
Yeah, I mean, and it very likely will have an impact on our meetings. The other thing that I wanted to mention, particularly if you're here, we are not having the planning board meeting next week.
We are. I was wondering about that, because we have a public hearing.
Nope, we
And
are.
I thought, 50 people in this room, well,
No, we are, so those are the types of things that we are doing.
so it is canceled for sure.
We will be suspending it, yeah. We're in the process of communicating a number of things in one batch of things, because a lot of times when you're making decisions, if you trickle it out, people will miss certain pieces of information, so we're collating that together and we'll be putting that information out tomorrow, so.
How will that be announced in the newspaper?
We'll do it a couple different ways, Debbie. We'll certainly alert the local press. I instructed Trevor to put together a notice, if the press won't run it in a more kind of
Public,
frontal
yeah,
way.
because the people don't, they're just assuming it's
Yeah.
gonna happen.
I
And
know.
they'll all probably look at the legals, so.
Yeah, I know that Gary Gutz reached out to me. He was inquiring today. Tim Palmer reached out. So there's enough interest that
Well, Gary will get the word.
there'll be no silver bullet to any of it, but we'll take multiple approaches so as to try to cover the waterfront.
So,
That's good.
we're canceling our planning and zoning meetings?
Currently, the planning board meeting is canceled. We're going to take approaches to have conversations and look at what is on the horizon.
Any construction go forward?
In talking with Steve right now, nothing will put the brakes on that side of things. From the planning board, what they had on their agenda, there was enough length and latitude for projects that postponing or delaying this meeting will not significantly impact any projects.
Okay. That was my next question.
Which we are fortunate,
Yeah,
but
we
I
are.
would argue that
There wasn't much on the.
if this continues to move forward though, we still may need to make some decisions that a project may be delayed. But we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. That's why I think we have to be careful not to have a hard line on too many things at the moment, just to see how some stuff develops.
Exactly.
For me personally, the area of our community that I'm watching like a hawk is what the school districts do. I really believe that that is going to be a significant push or pull on what we do. Because if you look at the community that is, I don't wanna say, lack of a better term, targeted or most dealing with it is our senior population. So you see a lot of the activity, like nursing homes are now saying you can't have visitors and you can't have guests. Okay, you're starting to see some reaction there, okay? Now, if you start seeing some reaction to the school districts, the gravitational pull will kind of fill in the middle a little bit about how the rest of the community is going to respond. So senior care, child care, et cetera, and everything. All right. A little bit more lengthy. I apologize for the. So.
We move on to something lighter, a truck.
So let me just get through some draft resolutions, and I do have a need for a considered executive session for this evening as well. You have draft minutes, monthly report, a request from our esteemed clerk to submit the grant that he's been speaking about. We also have the licensures for Regal Cinema and
You have
Cumberland
the
12.
documentation that they've been approved by them.
That's what Steve said, yeah.
Okay, Steve, is that all right?
Yeah. Request to accept the highway truck, request to purchase the vehicle for Parks and Recreation Department. That again, we originally had put it back on. Mel has requested it again to be taken off. And to her credit, she's really trying to get the best deal and situation. So there's some details that have developed, so that has been pulled. So you can pull that out for a while. And I imagine that even the vehicle itself may change, so, or it may not, but, request for a 3% deposit return. I know, Tom, that's one of your favorites. And request for authorization to attend the Planning Federation Conference. This is a great example. We will see what happens. A lot of organizations themselves are determining that they can't do it, even if it's months down the road. I mean, it's.
That's one of your 500 to 250 ones too.
Yeah, I mean.
That's a big conference.
Yep, so there's more to come on that. Recreation program contract for services, those are my highlights for tonight. Are there anything for committee reports?
Not yet.
So I will just wrap up with a bow to some takeaway messages for the board. Jim and I will be doing some additional research as it relates to structurally how we may need to operate as a board, and get that to you folks, should that be required. I will tell you that should we be touched by COVID or the coronavirus, town hall will immediately be closed for 14 days. Okay, that will be one of the things that we will do, and we will go to minimal staffing with some individuals to address the truly the most minimal things to move forward. And lastly, please encourage people to be just mindful through washing your hands, etc. I know it sounds goofy to tell a bunch of adults, but you're right though. I mean, it is. I
Do
mean,
it all day long.
yeah. So, is there a motion for consideration to go into executive session to discuss the ongoing pending litigation with the city of Plattsburgh, the certiorari related to Key Bank and Consumer Square, and the work history of one specific individual?
So moved.
We have a resolution here, that if we don't pass it tonight, it has to be submitted tomorrow.
Okay,
Okay?
for the grant?
For the grant.
Yeah.
And
What does that stand for?
it stands for Local Government Records Management Improvement Fund Grant.
why don't you read that, and then I'll go back to the motion. Sorry about that, Kevin.
That's okay. Whereas the LGR MIF continues to be critically important in the diligent, careful maintenance of many records and information related to the town of Plattsburgh, and whereas an application to the State Archives Records Administration for a 2020 Local Government Records Management Improvement Fund grant is available to the town, and whereas the town clerk wishes to submit an application for such grant funding to have assistance in remedying the issues of the archival record system, and whereas the application for the grant is free of cost to the town, and the town is under no obligation to accept the grant if it is awarded such, therefore be resolved that the town clerk submit the grant application paperwork for the LGR MIF grant, and be it further therefore it is resolved that a copy of this resolution be given to the town clerk for his file.
Is there a motion?
So
So move.
LaFave, Wood, any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
So does carry. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
do the executive session here.
Yeah, I'm gonna do the executive session in here tonight, Deborah.
Just know the progress of your grant,
No problem.
here to help you.
Kevin, that's awesome.
Is there one shot? Is there one shot to do it reasonably priced?
Yeah, no.
They'll provide,
Here's-
that grant would provide like filing cabinets and
It
all kinds of stuff.
it could, but right now I just wanna digitize what we have. There's 2,200 square feet down there.
Right.
And
And he's got quite the
the
system.
MU1 hasn't been worked on in a long time.
Okay.
It's done down there by themselves, so it could be done even if we're, in my opinion,
I'm telling you, I'm so excited if we can get it.
nobody be down there with them.
Yeah, Kevin, you're gonna need to shut your camera
Yeah.
off too.
Yeah, I will. Everybody, we're all set?
Yeah,
Executive session?
thank you.
Yes, thank you.